Well, despite the flurry of diplomacy, the Strait of Hormuz is largely still shut. We've talked plenty here on France 24 over the past weeks about the impact that's been having on the global economy. But what about the impact on the thousands of sailors stuck, stranded on those ships in the middle of what is effectively an active conflict zone? Well, to talk about them and the challenges facing the shipping sector in the weeks ahead with this tentative ceasefire now agreed, Phil Belcher is with me here in the studio. Hello to you.
Hello there.
You are the Marine Director of the International Association of Independent Tanker Owners, or Intertanko as it's called. We'll come to the logistical challenges in a moment, but first let's talk about the human story then. We have, perhaps you have clearer numbers than me, but something like 20,000 sailors stuck on ships in this region. A number of them have been killed. What can you tell us then about the conditions for these men on the ships? Are they able to leave sometimes at various ports? Is there enough food? Is there enough water, particularly now as we really enter summer?
Yeah, thanks very much. 20,000 is about the right number. At the moment, some ships are still moving through, but the number who have been killed is some 16 seafarers have lost their lives in this conflict, killed by both Iran and the US. And during that time, they've been suffering some great hardships, particularly on the mental welfare and so on like this. They've seen ships blow up, they've seen missiles go overhead, they've seen airstrikes going in. Fortunately, the Gulf states, the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, etc., have been able to provide them with enough food, water, all the normal things. Our members themselves have stepped up by increasing those kind of levels. So they've been physically looked after, but we really need to look after their mental welfare.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the challenges ahead then, now that we have this tentative deal which is in place. We've seen a rise, haven't we, in the number of ships that have gone through the Strait, although the Iranians are saying, largely speaking, it remains shut. And in fact, before we get on to some of those other questions, you were telling me when we were playing one of our reports that, in your view, actually, the Strait of Hormuz, we should consider it open today. Is that right?
Well, partially open, that's for sure. Through the southern route, along the Omani coast, some 32 ships were facilitated transits by the United States, their team in Bahrain, who are doing a job 24/7 now, getting ships through, removing some of the restrictions on there. So the capacity in that southern route is certainly rising. The northern route through the Iranian waters, the Iranians are allowing ships to go through, not quite in those kind of numbers, but we're still only a fraction of what the 130 or so transits a day that they were going through there.
And one of the challenges in terms of getting things moving now, I know this is something your organisation has looked into, is mines that the Iranians have put inside the strait. How difficult will it be to clear those mines in order to really get shipping moving normally again?
Yeah, well, there's active mine clearance going on at this moment.
Okay.
The United States is leading a lot of that effort, even though in the MOU, the deal there says that Iran needs to start clearing those. But the US is starting to do some with autonomous vessels and other things like this. Unfortunately, the mine danger area is slap bang in the middle of the strait itself, in the main traffic separation route, the main highway, as it were, through in and out. That's where most of the mines are, which is why ships are going through on the edges of that, on the shoulders of that, as it were.
Okay, so we have had some ships that have been able to pass through, as you say, more recently in the wake of this framework for an agreement. Can you help us understand, prior to this deal that was agreed, how ships before that, because a trickle of ships were able to get through, when those ships moved, were they taking great risks to do so, or were they paying? Because there had been some reports that Iran had effectively imposed a toll in the Strait of Hormuz. Can you speak to us a bit about that?
Yeah, again, we've got to separate out the two routes.
Yeah.
So the Iranian route to the north, which was both in and out, that was subject to the controls of the regional authorities there and the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Council. So there was probably fees being paid, but we don't know that for certain, but almost certainly.
And we don't know who was paying the fees, or do we?
We do not know who was paying the fees. Our members who have passed through there did so under their charterers' orders. So they were carrying the oil, gas, chemicals, etc. on behalf of the Pakistani or Indian governments. So they were being allowed through. Whether it was a diplomatic deal or a payment deal, we just do not know. For the southern route, facilitated by the US, that was always free of fees and tolls, but it was certainly subject to almost daily attack. Multiple ships did get hit during that time, about 5. going through on that route out of about 200 that went through at that time. But now, post-MOU, in the last 3 days, none of those ships have been attacked. And we've had 30 last night, I think 16 the night before, 15 the night before that. So it's rising, the numbers are rising. And they're moving to a 24/7 processor. Before, they were only going out through the night with everything switched off, blacked out entirely.
Okay, so we are seeing a building up of ships able to go through. We're seeing progress. If things continue the way they are now, and if there is some kind of agreement in Geneva today, how long will it take for normal service to resume in the Strait? Are we talking days, weeks, months, a year?
We're certainly talking weeks.
Yeah.
We have to get the backlog of ships out. There's some 550 or so ships still in the Gulf, maybe a few less now. But there's equal kind of numbers which have to get into the Gulf to start to load, to bring the oil and gas to Europe, to Asia in particular, and to get all that flowing again. No gas really has gone through the Strait since this. So oil, but no real gas.
All right. Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much, Phil Belcher, talking to us here on France 24.